Guys and gals, I am Levi Garrett, better known on YouTube as your girlfriend's mechanic. Today I'm going to show you all how to do a wheel seal on an Eaton drive axle. This particular one is on a 2000 Pete. Now, if you're not sure if you have a wheel seal out or not, if you look around, you have oil slung all over the frame, your airbag, spring, drum, everywhere. Chances are you have a wheel seal out. Now, I was unfortunate enough for this one to go out in North Dakota, and I limped home with it. So, chances are you can get away with not having this much of a mess. Me, on the other hand, I have a mess. So, first thing with YouTube magic, I've already taken the wheels off, as you can see, and did all the nuts to hold the axle in. So the first thing you're going to want to do, get your bucket underneath it, take a hammer, pop that axle loose. Simple as can be. Once you get that loose, then you just pull the axle out and start taking the nuts loose. Now, once you've got your axle slid out, it just slides out, nothing else holds it. You're going to want to back your brakes off and take the drum off. Now, one trick to do this, if you chock your tires and release your brakes inside the cab, obviously with it aired up, that'll take the slack off and it'll make it a lot easier to back your brakes off. Once you have, grab a hold of your drum, it's just going to slide off of there. And this thing weighs about 50 pounds, so you don't really want to drop it on your foot very bad. Alright, now that you got your drum off, if you take, I just use an old cut-off 5-gallon bucket. Something small like that'll work. You slide it under there, set it inside your drum. I'll explain why here in a second. Next, inside here, you have your spindle nut. You have this little lock ring. This little ring just has ears all the way around it. You're just going to take a chisel, and you're just going to pound those back. Once you got that, then you take that nut loose. Now that you got your lock ring all pounded back, then make a spindle nut socket. Get that on your big 3/4. I've already loosened this. You're just going to spin that. Take that out. And if you're like me and can't remember anything, when you take these out, just put them in a clean spot in order. That way you know which order they go back in. So, you got your first nut, a lock ring. Now this is your secondary ring. It has all these holes in it. What those holes do is they line up on the ear that sticks out on the inner nut. This is handy because it helps to remind you which nut goes inside also. Once you got that loose, you just grab a hold of this, give it a shake. That bearing just comes out at you. Get that out. And then the next step is to get this jerked off so the whole assembly just slides off the spindle. Now these can be kind of a bastard. If you just get after them, they'll come loose. Now that you've got it loose, you're just going to take that and you're going to set her on your drum just like that. That lets it drain into the bucket that we talked about earlier. And next I'll show you how to knock that seal out. Now that you got your hub sitting on your drum, it's just chilling. You're going to want to, a lot of guys have different ideas how to take a seal out. They make a special tool, it's like a big bar. You can use a long pry bar if you want. All that is okay, it's kind of a bitch. So what I do is I take a big long punch, or an extension in this case, I set it in there on that bearing. Now, That'll just sit there. I got this new bearing to show you guys where you want to hit. That way you don't ruin the bearing when you're doing this. If you look in there, you can see where the lip of the bearing meets the race. Here in my hand, I have the same exact thing, except it's not in there, it's in my hand. Now, when you reach in there with your punch, you're going to want to put that right there. You're not going to want to be inside the bearing, because if you're there, you're going to ruin it. So you're going to want to pound on it right there on the edge. And when you do that, that's going to drive this bearing downward, which is going to pop that seal out for you. Alright, now that you got your big punch and you know where to put it on that on that bearing, it's pretty easy. Once you get it down in there, you're just going to want to lay it right up against that race. And it's kind of hard to see from up in there, but that's why I showed you with the new bearing. Once you get her where you want it, you're just going to give her a good whack. You're just going to work around in a circle, come all the way around it. And just keep working around in circles till it finally pops out. Alright, so now that you got your seal and your bearing knocked out, and this thing is just sitting here chilling, draining, this is the time when you start to clean everything else up. Now, when you have this happen, what used to happen was guys would just leave their brakes in there, they'd clean them up as best they could, and then they'd just burn them clean. Well, thanks to tighter DOT regs, now you can't get away with that, so you have to put new brakes on it, which is fine, not a big deal, but you still have to get it cleaned up so that you can actually see the old one. So just get yourself a cardboard box, and anytime you're going to do this, you're going to make a mess. You can try to keep as clean as possible, you're going to get a mess. So just basically, as long as no dirt gets inside of here, everything else is going to be fine. So just go ahead and start working on this, getting it all cleaned up, and once we get it to where we can actually see it again, I'll show you guys, kind of give you a rundown on how to get your old brake shoes off and get the rest of it cleaned up so we can go back together with it. This is probably one of the worst jobs ever. No bullshit. Alright, so in order to take your brakes off, now that you kind of got them cleaned up, like I say, just get you a cardboard box or something that you don't care about, because whatever goes in that box, you don't want to have to take back out of that box. So put it in some crap ass box you don't care about, throw the whole thing away, burn it, don't care, just get rid of it. Now, once you're kind of cleaned up enough that you can see it, take a big bar, you slip her in there, you just pop that spring out, and that'll turn this end loose. So then you're just going to grab a hold of that, you're going to sling her off in a different box. Now this is a little more crucial because you got to send these back for core. So I just use the same box that your new ones come in, throw it in there, send it back. Now that all that's out of the way, you're going to have to keep cleaning on this thing and try to get it as clean as you can That way, if you get level 1 somewhere, they don't look up in there and say, oh, well, you got a wheel seal out and out of service, your ass. So, I'll clean up a little more on it, and then hopefully be able to come back and start showing you how to go back together with it.